So I really want to plant this greenhouse to maximise the harvests of the tomatoes, chilies, peppers and cucumbers. And I want to use the square foot spacing method. But I found three problems that I just can't ignore anymore. One, the soil quality, it's a work in progress. Two, the sun, it isn't even across the whole bed. And three, once the tomatoes get to maturity, they're going to likely cast shade on anything behind them, but particularly my very precious green stalk. So in this video, I'm going to try and show you the potential solutions that I've come up with that will hopefully reduce any negative impacts. Okay, so just want to show you what crops I've actually got to put in the ground. So I did want to try and put some flowers in, but I don't know whether I'm going to have room, but we'll come back to that conversation. I've got two types of tomato Ruth, spelt with a J, I'll try and put it on the screen, and then tomato yellow submarine. They're both indeterminate tomatoes, so they're going to get really tall. And I think I've got, let's see, 3, 6, 9, 12. I've got 12 tomatoes, 2 cucumbers, 15, 16, 17, 3 chilies, so another 17, they're chili basque, and then Amy's sweet pepper, 3 of those, so like 21, 22 plants. Should have got these plants in a long time ago, because I don't know if you remember in a previous video, I have already potted up my other tomatoes, like these money makers. They were my experiment, but I didn't pot these ones up because I just thought I'd put them straight in the ground, and I never did. So there is a little bit of yellowing. They are a little bit stressed. They're just fighting for nutrients, but they'll be in the ground soon. Okay, so this is what the square foot spacing looks like. I don't know if you can see it, but I ran this string from end to end, and then I have laid these sticks out to roughly demark the square foot spacing. We end up with 18 square feet, well actually just over 18 square feet. There's 18 whole square feet, which just seems mad to me that I could potentially get 18 crops in here. I've never planted this space that densely before. I've probably done, I don't know, 4 tomatoes in here. So I am a bit concerned. And square foot spacing, it just assumes that the soil quality is good. I think that's how you can get away with planting certain plants, you know, in a square foot, because the quality of the soil is good, which this isn't, although it is improving, but it isn't there yet. Okay, so I'm standing in the doorway to the greenhouse right now, and the morning sun comes from over there. This part of the bed in the early morning does get a very small amount of shade from the eucalyptus that I've got here, but it doesn't cast shade for very long, and we're still in April, so I'm just going to keep an eye on how it goes. But then once the sun is high enough, pretty much this whole section here is in full sun for most of the day. I know the leeks are casting a bit of shade at the moment. Whoopsie. But it does kind of give you an idea now. We're end of the day, I think maybe like 3-ish, and the sun is now starting to set over in the west, which is this direction. So this section here, as you can see by my feet, is starting to get shade. It's dapple shade and it's still really warm in here, but that is where the shade begins. Okay, the solutions for the sun path are, first of all, it's still April, so hopefully the sun will get a bit higher. Secondly, I'm just going to have to prioritise the tomatoes and the chilies and give them the most sun, because peppers can tolerate a little bit of shade. And probably thirdly, and more importantly, I just kind of have to give up this sort of pretty planting idea that I had of having all the tomatoes at the back and then alternating chili pepper along the front, and it just looking beautiful. But that isn't practical. That isn't going to maximize my harvests. That idea is scrapped. Pretty doesn't come into it anymore. This is about practical and quantity. This is quantity over beauty. But yeah, I'm hoping that will work. And also the other thing is just to factor in is that, you know, these crops here, they are going to get a lot of sun and they hopefully will produce, provided I solve the other problems. But the crops that are in the shadier end, I just have to accept that they may not produce as many as perhaps they would if they were in a sunnier spot. And I do have some in the actual veg garden in the front, in the cold frame. So they should do quite well. They're going to get a lot of sun and I'm going to keep those protected. Yeah. This year is a bit of an experiment. I have to keep telling myself that. I feel like since I've set myself this challenge to grow as much food as I can, the fear of failure has become more obvious, or there's a sense of urgency. I don't know really how to describe it, but I'm putting all this time and effort and money into it, and I want it to be successful, obviously, but if it fails, I feel like I kind of would have let people down. Yeah, the days of hobby gardening are gone. But hopefully, once I've done my first year, things will settle down and little things like sun path won't cause me to freak out so much. Okay, so this is the layout that I have gone for. It's kind of a staggered approach with the peppers, no, not the peppers, the tomatoes at the back, the chilies at the front, and then the peppers towards the right at the front. And then at the very last bit, I'm going to put those 2 cucumbers there, kind of staggered. I've alternated the tomatoes. The chilies are at the front. You see, they're kind of slightly off-centered. It isn't square foot. They've definitely got more than a square foot each, but it's just that it's the best spacing I could do. Who knows? We'll just have to wait and see. But what it does mean is these guys, 3 of the tomato Ruth and 3 of the yellow submarine, are not going to get a place in the greenhouse. I'm going to pot them on, keep them in pots for as long as I can, just in case something else fails in the ground, and then if not, I will give them away. Okay, so problem number 2 was the shade that the tomatoes are going to potentially cast, or likely will cast, on anything that's behind them. And sadly, that does include my very precious green stalk. And I love the idea of having this in the greenhouse. The strawberries are absolutely loving the heat. And I've even got one ripening down there, which is just madness. I really don't want to take this out, but it is movable. It does unstack, so I could move it out. That's one solution. The other thing is the strawberries might ripen before the tomatoes get to crazy stage. I mean, the bottom ones might be affected. So I think really what I've got to do is just wait and see what happens. I don't love the solution for this one, which is taking the green stalk out, but I might have to do it, and it can be done. It is possible. I could do it. Also, just thinking about anything sort of seedling wise that I might have along the back here. Like I say, the tomatoes are going to take a minute or two to get to full maturity, so I can obviously put stuff on this top shelf, and by the time they get to full maturity, I'm definitely not going to have as much in the greenhouse seedling wise. I'll just have to see how I go. And worst case scenario, I have to go back to having them in the porch. I don't love those options because I want things to be in the right place, and the greenhouse is the right place for seedlings to be. But I'm trying to grow as much food as I can, and so I have to prioritise growing space. So yeah, solutions, but not solutions that I love. And finally, the last problem, which is probably the most important in a way, is the quality of the soil. So this greenhouse was built on a plot that had, I think it had some kind of patio. Well, in fact, I can show you if you come out here. Yeah, the ground was like this underneath some slabs. There were some slabs, and then on top of the slabs there was a deck. So the deck was busted. We removed the deck. It's very gravelly, lots of builder's sand. The soil wasn't great quality, but I did manage to grow in it the very first year I had it. And tomatoes did grow, they did produce. They haven't held on to moisture very well. It dries out so quickly. I mean, obviously so. It's a south-facing greenhouse, and I wasn't protecting the surface of the soil, but I am doing that now. So it is starting to hold moisture a bit better, and the mulch is definitely helping with that. And every year I have added compost and manure. So this year I've decided I will do what I've been doing in the front garden. I'm going to add a handful of compost to each planting hole. I'm running out of this worm castings, but I have saved it for these plants. I'm going to put a handful of worm castings into each hole, and then I just had to go and grab from my local, it's up the high street, but it is organic chicken manure, which is slow release fertilizer. I have already put manure in here at the beginning of the year or end of last year. So it's had 1 dose of that. So hopefully the combination of these 3 will work, because like I said earlier, the square foot planting method does rely on the soil being good quality. So we will see. Okay, I'm just going to show you how I do my tomatoes. I basically run strings down from this bar up here. I can't look because the sun will blind me. And then I put the bottom in the base of the planting hole. If they get beyond here, which they often do, I tend to just add more string and weave it around. But yeah, so I'm just going to make sure I've got enough at the bottom to put in the planting hole, and then I'm going to cut. Sunglasses are going to have to go on, otherwise I'm going to be blind. And then I just pass this over here. Make sure I've got plenty of spare hanging down, which I have, and then that just goes in the hole down there. Let me get you a bit closer. It's really hard to show you, but I just tie it off there, and then we run down. And then once I've got the plant out of its pot, I will make a hole and I will lie this in the base of the hole and fill it back in, and then the tomato will just bend its way up there. Well, I will bend its way up there. This is not going to be very easy to show you, but I'm going to do my best. Oh, it's so very hot. So this is yellow submarine. Oh, and the other thing is, when you plant tomatoes, you can go a little bit crazy, and I'm going to take these yellow bits off of the tomato and I'm going to plant it right up to about there, so all that stem is going to be hidden. Yeah, one sec, I'm going to have to abort mission. Okay, so I just had to get the shovel out because I managed to find a few nice large pieces of stone, slate, whatever it is, in the bottom of the hole, because I don't think I've ever planted quite this far over before in this bed. That might be a problem, but at some point I have to get planting in here, so I'm just going to separate these. And then I'm going to just see how low it is. Then I'm going to pop in my compost and all the extra bits. Piece of string, I'll just lay it in the hole like that. A couple of handfuls of compost. So the string is now well and truly buried. A handful of worm castings, or a small handful of worm castings, because I'm running out. And then some slow release chicken manure. And it's very hot in here, people. I am going to put a little bit of moisture in there, give it a bit of a mix, and then let's make sure. I want the string to be fairly close as well. That's the other thing. When you're manipulating the string, just make sure that it's, you know, close-ish. I mean, it's malleable, it's fine. And then firm him in. I will get some more strolch, but I just want to make sure he's well and truly in. And then I'm going to give him another water. You really, really want to water your seedlings in very, very well, particularly in here. Okay, I'm going to crack on and do the rest. Whoa! Okay. Why I picked the hottest part of the day to do such things, I will never know. But I think we're done. So would you believe it? They are in the ground. So we've gone 2 cucumbers, sort of staggered, one in the corner and to the side. This is the shadiest spot, but we'll see. Then I've got 1, 2, 3 peppers along the front. And then I've just alternated between the tomato Ruth and the submarine, the yellow submarine, all the way along. All the tomatoes have got strings, which I don't think, can you see? Strings going down to the base. And then the cucumbers, I'm just going to go and wait and see as to how big they get. I can't remember. They are a small cucumber, so they may not need one. And they obviously don't need hardening off because they've been in the greenhouse. This is where they live. I could have just potted them on, I suppose, but I didn't see the point. It seemed to make sense to me to just get them in the ground as they were living in here anyway. So we're done. This should work in theory. As long as the plants get what they need, they will produce a decent harvest, I hope. I guess the question is, will they get what they need from this space? But I will keep you posted. I will come back and update you, and I'd like to start collecting some data as well. Once they start producing fruit, I'd like to see how much fruit I can actually get from this space. So thanks for watching, and I'll keep you posted. I'm going to have to water these every freaking day.